So we have mentoring programs, but our claim to fame, if you will, is our Fulfilling Our Dreams Scholarship Fund. And that's an annual scholarship, and we provide anywhere from 50 to 60 scholarships to students in the state of California, and it doesn't matter if you're illegal or legal. And we really always try to give at least half of those scholarships for to undocumented students.
So the students that the organization is helping, what are their stories? Oh goodness, you know, we get so many from. I also forgot to mention that we run a couple of mentoring programs, and so you get sort of the three different populations. First, you get your high school student or middle school student that, first of all, like what Professor Carranza was saying, you have to sort of get them excited about going to college, and so that's a whole battle in itself, sort of addressing the dropout rate. And so you get that sort of population that you're like, yes, you could do it. And then some of them, you know, come from single parent homes, or some of them are undocumented. And so it's sort of like this false promise that I think some of our mentors sometimes feel that they're selling. And then we have the other population, which is our mentors, which, you know, our scholarship recipients sort of serve as our mentors for our programs. And some of them are undocumented. And so I hear of the different stories on a daily basis from, oh, you know, I thought I was going to have the sort of typical college experience, to not being able to stay in the dorms, to not being able to experience what it is like, you know, to sort of share lunch, even if the cafeteria at the college sucks. But they don't have that experience. They don't even have that option. Lastly, we have the parents who don't really understand why, if their students did so well in high school, they're like, you know, they've been here since they were 3, they've been here since they were 5, and why can't, you know, they sort of get scholarships or get grants? And so it's frustrating. It could be very frustrating for a lot of the students and parents that we work with. So the same student I interviewed, I did ask her what was life after college looking like for her, and this is what she had to say.
I really think that students should get that opportunity now, not tomorrow, not 2012, now. Like, have they graduated with degrees and they want to practice their profession, you know? That's what they went to school for, right? I'm going to be graduating next year, and I mean, I guess I work at Starbucks now, and I work at a nightclub as a bar back. So I think I'll have to go back to that even though I have a degree, you know? Professor Carranza, how typical or how common is this for a lot of students, undocumented students in particular, who graduate to go back to their old jobs?
It's quite common. Obviously, with education, you will find certain tools in order to improve your conditions, of course. There are possibly employers who will take a risk, knowing that these individuals have a potential. But I have students like the student that you presented. I have students that graduated, but they cannot find jobs. I know one of them that works as a day laborer. Sometimes he goes to the corners to find jobs. And, you know, that is depressing, especially if you were a good student, possibly great student, and you're not able to find a job because of those limitations. But I think echoing what Sergio was saying about the si se puede idea, yes, you can, it's sometimes unrealistic. And it's necessary to present that reality to the students. What can you do? What kind of political moves can you make? And what can you do as a student in order to mobilize that political establishment to support your cause? Not necessarily a bill such as the DREAM Act, but the entire package, because these students do not stand alone. They belong to families. They belong to communities. And, you know, there are communities that are in that legal limbo, not having those proper documents to work, to go to school, to get financial aid, or to get, you know, the proper education.
Now, I know for a vast majority of them, it is very difficult to pay for tuition. And during the same interview, I did have a chance to ask her how she managed to pay for tuition, and this is what she said.
I have to find any way to fund my education, which is really important to me. It always has been, you know. Me, I've done it all. I mean, you name it. I'm not asking, like, what kind of job can I get? I get any job I can find, you know what I mean? And I'm not complaining about it. I just think that a lot of us have a lot of drive to really accomplish our dreams.
Now, Sergio, I understand you were also an AB 540 student. First, tell us what that means and how did you get through school?
Sure. So AB 540, it's a state bill that was introduced by the late now, was the Firebomb, right? And so anyways, what this says is that any student that graduated here in the state of California with their high school degree and at least went to high school in California for 3 years is eligible to not be charged out-of-state tuition. So basically, before this sort of bill went into effect and before you had now the label AB 540 student, undocumented students that were going to college had to sort of go to the financial aid office or go talk to admissions and hope that they would not charge them out of state and prove that they were living here, for whatever X number of years. And so basically this bill sort of facilitated that whole issue of being charged out of state tuition. So great, right? But at the same time, they still cannot get financial aid. And so you end up having a lot of students with that get accepted to these top universities not being able to afford to go to college. In my case, I feel old, but I graduated in 1999, and the bill hadn't passed, and so I wasn't considered an AB 540 student at that time. But I always tell the students and the populations, the parents that I work with, Berkeley. I ended up going to UC Berkeley, and I grew up here in Inglewood in LA. And that was the first big dream that I had. And I know I probably sound too idealistic, but I always tell people, if you really want something like really bad, like if that's the dream that you want, you will figure it out. You will make things happen. Was it easy? Not at all. Did I cry a lot of times? Like I did, I remember I didn't stay in the dorms. I stayed in the co-op system, which sort of lived up to its name with the whole hippie Berkeley mentality. And, there was a lot of like house chores that people had to do. I didn't get to sort of like have your everyday meal. I worked countless hours. I always, sometimes it was either do I pay tuition or do I pay rent? And so, but as a result of that, I would go and talk to my professors and explain my story, and they sort of like would allow me to keep sort of taking the class, and then later retro add the class. And so there's a lot of things that I can share with you that I share with a lot of my students that I did to get by, but it's determination. And like I said, Berkeley was the first real dream that I had, and I was not about to let it go. And so.
So what did you do after college?
So after college, so then I became, I was undocumented, and I became what some people refer as underdocumented. I was able to get my employment authorization card. I had a social security number, so I was able to work. Still, I wasn't able to get financial aid, but this made things easier. So I ended up working for a couple of the school districts in Northern California and also here in Southern California. And then I worked as a counselor at UCLA at the International Institute. And I just graduated with my master's in public administration from Cornell University in 2009. And here we are. Now I work at Salif as of a year ago.